Look at your cell phone right now.
Look at it, say hello to it.
And if anyone comes in, we have to stop them at the door.
Yeah.
And turn out their cell phones. Do not have any alarms on. Let me try my.
Anything at all, you know, like they're telling you that it's going to be January 1st, okay? Say
Oh,
that for
thank
next
you.
year.
But you know what if mine?
Andrew, I can't see your face. You're both got lots of face.
So,
Don't worry,
so
we're
we
going
need
to
to
get
do a thank you.
I need to see
We
you.
just really nice and.
Don't be
Diane
bashful.
and
Yeah, okay.
Oh, the heck,
John
man.
and Tom, I thought you were wonderful. John did honorary posing and Kevin, and I gave them bookings for next year. Anyone else who did honorary posing? I've got such cataracts and loss of eyesight. And so we're going to do a wonderful little set here. I have to make sure my alarm is not on. Can you check your alarms to make sure they're not on? Because they will ring.
Charles Johnson, can you refrain from using your cell phone? Thank you.
Oops. See how terrible I am? Okay, now it's going off. 9/11, and we're going to do a 20-minute set. And I want to, for all these years, Andrew and Mary have been performing. And it's wonderful that they're always a part of our celebrations. Andrew Bolotowsky, Mary Hurlbut. And if all of our phones are off, I'll let them introduce Thomas Morley. Be sure to turn your cell phone off, Ellen. Turn your cell phone off. And there's seats over here. But let's take things off of seats if possible. Whose is this on a seat? It's mine. You want to move it? Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine. It's yours. No, I thought it was somebody else. That's fine right there. Okay, so we're all set.
Okay.
And all the cell phones are off. And we're going to be quiet.
Okay, I'm going to give my requisite lecture again. Please, do something to shut off your cell phones. We have some very beautiful music here. This is very beautiful stuff from 1595 by Thomas Morley. And there's a certain kind of cultural thing that's been going on with everybody's cell phones where they act completely surprised when it goes off, as if they can't believe that this is happening. Okay, so I'm telling you right now, believe it. So please, disconnect it now, whatever it takes. If you have to, throw it out the window, step on it, I don't care. Do something, because I want to play this music. We are going to do a selection of Canzonets by Thomas Morley from 1595. And we've arranged them in a certain kind of, they almost have a plot line, okay? And so the first one is, Sweet Nymph, Come to Thy Lover. But by the time we get to the end, it's, Oh, thou that art so cruel, my dainty, lovely jewel. Okay, so you can get the progression. Each one goes gradually, sort of like that. And of course, if you've all been outside on New Year's Eve, that's generally when lovers have quarrels at the end of the year, at that very moment. Okay, so, but we're going to compress it here in this little song cycle. Okay, so the first one is Sweet Nymph. It looks like Nymphy, Come to Thy Lover. Okay. And this is, by the way, Mary Hurlbut, who's going to be singing. I go before my darling.
I go before my darling. I go before my darling. I go before my darling. I go before my darling. I go before my darling. I go before my darling. Follow thou to the bar in the close alley. There we will together sweetly kiss each other, and like two wantons, dally, 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 dally. There we will together sweetly kiss each other, and like two wantons. Dally, 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 dally. Dally, 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 dally. Dally, 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 dally.
Lo, here another love.
Lo, here another love. Lo, here another love from heaven's descended, descended. Lo, here another love. Lo, here another love from heaven descended, from heaven descended. That with forces unknown and with no doubting doth wound the heart, and yet doth breathe no smarting. Doth wound the heart, and yet doth breathe no smarting, no smarting. That with forces anew and with new darting doth wound the heart, doth wound the heart, and yet doth breathe no smarting. Doth wound the heart, and yet doth breathe no
Now things are getting bad. Okay. Flora, wilt thou torment me? Of course, this has a sort of a double meaning, but you'll figure it out. You know, it's like the word to die also had a double meaning too. I'm not going to get on it now, because if this goes on the internet, we'll all get into trouble. For spreading pornography and licentious behaviors, promoting licentious behaviors. Okay, here we go. Flora, wilt thou torment me?
I think it'll be copyrighted.
Flora, wilt thou torment me, and yet must I content me? Flora, wilt thou torment me, and yet must I content me? And shall I have no pleasure? And shall I have no
Yes, this one is, oh, thou that art so cruel. All cell phones off, please.
Oh, thou that art so cruel, my dainty lovely Julian, my dainty lovely Julian. Oh, thou that art so cruel, my dainty lovely Julian, my dainty lovely Julian. Why thus in my tormenting dost thou still use relenting? Dost thou still use relenting? Alas, right out come the sleigh, come slay me. Do not thou still from time to time delay me. Do not thou still from time to time delay me. Do not thou still from time to time delay me. Do not thou still from time to time delay me. Alas, right out come the sleigh me. Do not thou still from time to time delay me. Do not thou still from time to time delay me. Do not thou still from time to time delay me. Do not thou still from time to time delay me.
That's it.
What?
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
15
That's
minutes.
all. This is it.
Encore, encore.
Anybody have an iPhone charger on them?
Okay.
So now everyone gets some break for the, what is it now, 9:30?
Not quite. You got 3 minutes.
9:30.
So by 10 o'clock, we're gonna start
Yes,
reading.
indeed. Yes, indeed.
Remember early Rudolph, right? And,
But Minerva, can I read first?
huh?
Can I read first? Because I have to split.
You wanna read first? Yeah, but we're gonna start in half an hour. Everyone get a drink.
All right.
Everybody get your
Okay,
first.
iPhone, because my phone is on my iPhone. You think somebody has an iPhone here?
Is there a cord to charge or no?
My phone is on my iPhone, which ran down. You have an iPhone charger?
Remember what
Somebody must have a
Somebody
iPhone.
must have an iPhone.
Anybody have an iPhone charger?
And we're gonna start, ladies, I'm gonna start with an essay about how I started the studio.
Yay.
And then, Leanne and Barbara are gonna do something, and then we
Minerva.
still have words reading, and Susan, Susan, you want to be second?
Yeah,
So you
okay.
can leave.
Yeah, thank
You
you.
want to be second,
I'll
then
read,
Barbara,
and I'll
Leanne,
read
and then
Yeah.
Ellen's gonna read, and Elizabeth's gonna read, Carol's gonna read. I'll make the list out in a minute. So, I had started to write a little bit about how I imagined the studio and how it became the studio. And then, all of a sudden, I'm not sure why, but I think it had to do with 226 Lafayette and what was happening there in the old space. But I don't talk about what was happening in the old space, this is just about the beginning of the studio. And it turned out that it was already half written well-based, did have sewn, but it was half written. So I finished writing it and I sent it out, and then I had 2 more essays afterwards about the building, the second one being about falling in love with 226 Lafayette, but that's for another day. This is only about how I started the studio. But I found a quote from an epigraph by W.B. Yeats to his 1914 volume of poems called Responsibilities. And the quote is, "In dreams begins responsibility." And that's not what Delmar Schwartz wrote, which was, "In dreams begin responsibilities." And there's a difference between becoming responsible or taking on responsibilities. It's a burden to take on responsibilities, but when you become responsible, your character transforms into another character. So when you dream, you transform, and I shouldn't be explaining all this to you, it should make sense to you without my explaining it, but I'm a teacher. I drive nails and coffins just as everyone else does. Okay, so now how I started the studio. It wasn't until I actually did the thing that I had always dreamed of doing that I finally figured out what that thing was. For years I fantasized scenarios that had little to do with what I wanted to do in the first place. I imagined myself in a large, nondescript space. Against the wall to one side of the space I brewed coffee in the morning and prepared soup in a crock pot later in the day. My mind called forth imaginary artists to share my dreams, nondescript artists sharing my nondescript space. Maybe there was a platform on which models would eventually take poses at some point, but I never conjured up any imaginary models in my fantasies. I was always cooking. The crock pot and the coffee machine were the only things that were clearly discernible. The events that unfolded in one scenario were the cutting up and adding of ingredients to my afternoon soup: onions, carrots, potatoes, tomatoes, parsnips, and beets. And in the other scenario, the placing out of a creamer and a sugar bowl next to the coffee machine. Of course, when my dream came true, there were no crock pots, no coffee machines, no creamers or sugar bowls anywhere to be seen. My dream project took on form early in 1992 after I left a part-time job as a figure drawing instructor and advisor in the Department of Illustration at Parsons School of Design on 13th Street, New York City. I was lucky to have had modestly prestigious employment, even as a lowly adjunct. And I did everything I could to hold on to the job for 9 years. Eventually, humiliations at the hands of administrators took all the value out of the job. I couldn't continue to put my heart and soul into teaching and advising at Parsons after being denied the basic perquisite of a tuition transfer to my youngest child. A private hearing with the vice provost in her office convinced me that I must be on a list of dispensable aging instructors who had not achieved international acclaim and who had supported the effort to create a union and therefore must be got rid of. I resigned. When I asked the dean how I could resign, he said that I could quit with a handwritten note of resignation effective December 31st, 1991. I composed and penned the note. I had been sighing and sobbing off and on for a week, but at the moment that I gave the note to the dean's secretary, my tears stopped, and I was filled with joy, a feeling not unlike the feeling Beethoven expressed when he wrote the last movement of his Ninth Symphony. I just quit, I said excitedly to the first friend I saw. "What? You quit? What will you do now?" she asked. "I don't know, I haven't thought about it." "You are such a good teacher," my friend said. "You really should teach somewhere else." Then, all of a sudden, I remembered the thing that I had always wanted to do. I remembered my fantasies. The crock pot, the coffee machine, the nondescript artist, the carrots and the creamer. I could open a figure drawing studio. That's what I will do, I said to myself. While I taught at Parsons, I had a small painting studio on the 10th floor, 225 Lafayette. When I decided to open a figure drawing studio, I took a larger space in the same building on the 7th floor for $1,600 a month. While it was important for me to define the nature of my dream project to myself, which I did as the project unfolded, it was more important to find ways to keep my dream going after I had started it. The most difficult task of all, survival, evolved daily. Informed by interactions with hundreds of artists and students, I had to adjust my thoughts constantly. I compromised often. I was quiet and alert most of the time, but loud and hostile other times. I feigned anger at times, gave in reluctantly when I had to, and most importantly, I shed any arrogance left over from my youth. I lost all sense of entitlement. Slowly I realized that I was the servant of my business and that I could expect to pay dearly if I ever made a misstep. I continued to make mistakes, and when I could, I learned from them. The rent was too high. After 2 years at 225 Lafayette, I moved the studio to the cellar of the building across the street, 226 Lafayette, paying $900 a month. I remained there for 23 years. I would still be there now, but the owners had something else in mind, and in September 2015, they declined to renew my lease. Fortunately, Richard August, the owner of 293 Broome, was looking for artists to share space in his building, so I moved the studio 8 blocks away to that part of Broome Street that is in Chinatown, east of Soho and Little Italy. Well, I never conjured up any imaginary artist when I dreamed of someday having a figure drawing studio. It turns out that the individuals who model for me have become the most solid and important realities of my day-to-day life as I manage the studio. There is an abundant source of fascinating figure models in New York City. Over the years, I've tried to stay professional and to avoid attachments to the models, but it is impossible, and I find myself engaged, respecting their work deeply. As I look over the images that I drew of live models during the past 25 years, I am thrilled to remember them and to appreciate once again each model's uniqueness. And the artists who draw at Spring Studio are, in general, respectful and quiet, but not at all nondescript as I had imagined them to be in my fantasies. Like the models, each artist is unique and fascinating in his own way. There again, bonds form that go beyond professionalism, and my heart is engaged. It is precious to me that many artists who drew with me 25 years ago still draw at the studio regularly. When I had a stroke in January of this year, they and a few others, more recent arrivals, kept the studio running until I could get back to work. Artists who have left town visit when they're in town, and there are always new artists from Canada, Europe, Australia, South America, Central America, Africa, and Asia attending the drawing sessions. Because it is a drop-in studio, many foreigners come to draw whenever they come to New York City. I didn't plan for my business to survive all these years. I have no idea how I managed to keep the studio going, but I am sure I wasn't alone in my path, that there were countless others who love to draw, who were accompanying me, and I am both surprised and pleased that Spring Studio is alive and well in Chinatown today. So thank you. So you need to go next so you can leave?
Yeah.
And then after Susan will be Barbara and Leon, and then I'll sit down
So you,
the next list.
over here,
That was good.
so you sit exactly where
Yeah, I'm
Minerva
gonna
is,
sit
where Minerva is.
So you can zoom in. Just button you, zoom in.
Okay, I hit this first.
Wow.
I turned
Oh,
out.
yeah, let it record. Yeah. So, like, sit there.
Thank you.
Beautiful, Minerva. Love it. Love it.
My seat.
No, you
There's
didn't
my
do
wine.
anything.
Anyway, right, so like, here, sit down and like just press, you
Now
can zoom
everybody's
in,
caught up with
and then you could twist it.
Yeah.
Twist it.
So Susan, you're going to go ahead.
Okay,
With that.
whatever. It's interesting that the skeleton's there. Makes a lot of sense.
There's probably a
That hasn't happened yet. I'll mention it, I think, after our
Okay,
meeting.
let us welcome Susan Young and her board.
I grew up in this neighborhood on Forsyth Street near Hester Street. And junior high school was my junior high school, and then Washington Irving High School, and then Hunter, which is another world on the Upper East Side, right? And that was totally depressing in its way. When you come from Chinatown to the Upper East Side, it's like a poor neighborhood. Anyway. So, and I studied art history there, and, you know, to be an artist, Western art history, being an artist, lots of things, you know. Anyway, recently there's been this campaign of lost languages, you know, a poet about home lost languages, but, I mean, there's, anyway, I found this thing on Facebook about him. I mean, you know, he wrote, or the other wrote, Speak your mother tongue at home. Respect your neighbor's culture. Support governmental efforts to keep the planet alive. Wrong. 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 Keep the planet alive. Who's destroying it, man? You know, right?
Yeah.
And various in all its marvelous cultural diversity, okay? Let the world speak, okay? Then I found this response from Kathy Wu on Facebook. You fat fraud, you rape and pillage everywhere you go and silence people for a living. I can't believe how much shit you speak and get away with. Right? And one of the first things I asked him was like, well, okay, so lost languages, and the New York Times had, you know, in New York, one people speaking one language that nobody else knows. How's this guy going to communicate? I mean, it's sort of a distraction of what world crisis is happening, right? So, Walk on Wall Street, I usually go, I go to open mics to propagate the writings I've done, right? And this one I call demagogue, as opposed to oligarchy. And this was written in 2006. Demagogue, you know, in the dictionary it says, a political leader who seeks support by appealing to popular desires and prejudices rather than by using rational arguments. Sounds familiar? All right. The decadences of the first world, as reflected in the decadences of the third world. Social class structures, barriers of shunned communications. Where humanity is a serious agenda, criteria for the concerned citizens. The upper class are living with such privileges where I become the enemy forced to enjoy the other. Democracy becomes a side order of salad with Russian, French, Italian, Hispanic, and American dressings. The main course is what they want in society unless the masses agrees to recognize the universal experiences of suffering to revolt. An oligarchy is a small group of people having control of a country, organization, or institution, the ruling oligarchy of military men around the president. So I have this thing, you know, having once upon a time study, you know, Maoism because, you know, that's what they do in Chinatown. Serve the people. Black Lives Matter, for the homeless, underemployed, incarceration, for being impoverished, dead for robbing the rich, dead for the criminal acts. Skin colors matter, taught at home regarding racism, war on poverty, serve the people. Okay. And that is a recent piece. But this is another early piece in 2015, fluctuating back and forth about how we got where we are. Okay, you know, gentrification. And you look at the newly developed buildings all around us, below 14th Street, and this is called A Work in Progress. And this was written in 2015. Before Iraq War, before World Trade Center, before homelessness, before unemployment, before Tiananmen Square massacre, before the Sandinista and Noriega War, before the Marcos dictatorship by being Ronald Reagan's puppet, before the Confucius Plaza demonstrations for workers' rights, before civil rights movement, before Hiroshima bomb, before the freedom of slavery, the Civil War, we are now there.
We are now what?
There. Okay. And so we are now there, and then I sort of last line I added death ends wars. Death in, is it plural? ends or wars or whatever. You know. So, death and wars. No victories for the kids. Does peace make war? Death in all wars. Not victories for the kids. Dead bodies line streets. In Aleppo and all these various other local places. Sort of. Lovers can make wars. Madnesses make wars. Push the buttons for wars. Life and death juxtaposition. So just choose genocide of Aryans versus Asians versus blacks. However, being Asian is to preach yoga, peace. Is the grass greener? Do flowers thrive? Can you see the world in a flower? And that was written last year, too. So the past 20 years, I've been documenting alternative jazz musicians, trying to find musicians to back me up. So I've been, one of the first musicians that backed me was Bern Nix. And at this point, once in a while, without music, right? So it's like hand tones, shades of colors, recording sound notes taken from afar, mind tones, healing, throbbing pain, speeding atonements out, music systems tirade and sounded from centuries afar, oppressions made in shades, tinted pink and cerulean blue, green turquoise blues, blue-black tone, blue-black blues, dug out old braids, fumigated tones. Often tones are returned to humming phrases, worth repeating pleasantly on a scale of A, B, C, D, E, F, G flat, definitive, music tones, tuned for a few who you pretend knowing. There are some poets who think they're musicians. I won't name them. Tones made to hear, skin, bones rattling, heartbeats, fears, anger, slurs to zip up and down, legatos to smooth, even edges.
Thank you. And you want to tell us what you're going to be doing?
Enjoy the artwork. And in the back we have Jambalaya 3x3 with Gail Flannery, who's in the audience today, Richard Barnett, and Susan Greenstein. And also, if anyone's interested, we are looking for new members. So if you're an artist and would be interested in joining us, please come and talk to me or to Shani, and we'll fill you in on the details. If you would please turn off your phones or silence them. That means me. Because we know what happens if we don't. And then finally, I just want to introduce Daryl Aldice, who has been kind enough to organize this great series called One Breath Rising. And I think he performs, or he invites poets to perform in other venues, but he found us and
we found each other.
We found each other. And so now we have this great collaboration happening. So I'll let Daryl take over and introduce the performers.
Thank you. Oh, wow. Great. I'm glad y'all came out today. It's football over there, right, EJ? We were at a previous event honoring the late Louis Rivera at Sister's Place in Brooklyn today. We were there, so we were here. And it's good to have a full Sunday. I told my wife this morning, I says, we have a full Sunday today. Everyone's running to one art gallery or one art's happening to another. And that's good, particularly for artists. It's invigorating. One Breath Rising, we started 2 years ago, going into our second year, and we've been growing and just growing through you and your generous support, your generous presence for the last 2 years. And we're getting there, folks, and we're getting there with consistency and with having events like this. And we pride ourselves on having quality artists in intimate settings. Is this an intimate setting? All right. You're very nice. And that's our mission statement, briefly so far. And we just love what we do. We wouldn't be out here, you know, if we didn't love what we do. We have a passion for supporting artists and for supporting audiences too, you know, nurturing audiences, nurturing artists. So today, at 440 Gallery, which has been so wonderful to partner with us, because it is a partnership. It's not, we're not doing anything in isolation. We go to Sister Space, we go to South Oxford Space. It's always a collaboration. You know, what bugged us for years is that people were doing things in isolation. You know, but we're collaborating. I'm even collaborating with Bill T. Jones's Live Arts, you know, in Manhattan, you know, at least once a week. And it's a collaboration about building. You know, you build together. You know, you survive together. You know, I believe in that. Well, politics aside, today we have E.J. Antonio. This is her book, by the way, and there are available. CD artists and supporting artists while you can. Larry, we have CDs today?
You know what? I sold them all.
You can still get them online for you. Okay, you can see them after this, and please support the artists while you can. E.J. Antonio is a 2009 Fellow in Poetry from the New York Foundation for the Arts and a recipient of fellowships from the Hurston Wright Foundation and the Carly Condon Foundation. Her work has appeared online at Twitch Literary Arts, The Drunken Boat, Poets.com, Rogue Scholars, and has been published in such journals and magazines as African Voices Literary Magazine, The Amistad, the Literary Journal, Howard University, Terra Incognita, Black Renaissance Noir, Mobius, the Encyclopedia Project, and I can go on and on and on, but you can read this wonderful stuff if you support her with her work, you know, I like her work. And I want to introduce E.J. Antonio to you, and she will introduce Larry Roland to you. Thank you for coming.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
And right standing next to me is Larry Roland. Larry Roland and myself, and at one point Darryl Allardyce, we are part of a group called the Jazz and Poetry Choir Collective. There are currently 5 of us, I believe.
6.
There's 6. I always forget to count myself. I want to tell you what I did last week with a reservation for a restaurant. But so I invited Larry to join me today, and we're going to do some of the things that we would do if we were working with the full Jazz and Poetry Choir Collective. So a little bit about the collective. The collective tries to have a synergistic meshing of jazz music and the words. In other words, nothing is more important. They should be on a synergistic level. It's mostly improvisation. Everyone who is part of the Jazz and Poetry Choir Collective is a poet, and some of our poets are also musicians. Okay? Larry fills both roles, as you can see, with his wonderful electronic stick bass here, which he can tell you about later. I do words and sometimes vocals with the group. So I'm going to start off, and I'm going to do like maybe 3 or so poems, and then I'm going to turn it over to Larry and let him do a couple of poems. And we're going to do what we would do if we were the full poetry choir, which is improvisation within the work that is being read. Okay? It's all in the astrological chart. Our voices will not shatter. Our voices will not shatter when criticism falls through the mirror. Tortured in its failing to absorb our stretched diaphragm. Waves move us into trees, into clouds, into earth, to confront the shadowed question. In our throats, words will not turn rancid. It's all in the astrological charts. Our words will not turn rancid. We will use our charred verbato like brushes, dip them in the isms, turn our interiors kaleidoscope, paint our exteriors golden amber, for Oshun's tribes seek us at the watershed, where we we meld into ancient twilight, offer melodic storms to the wind, to the wind, 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 wind. Sing praise, sing praise, sing, sing, sing praise, song. Sing songs of solace and fire. It's all in the astrological charts. Our voices will not shatter, and we will sing, sing praise songs of solace and fire. And our voices will not shatter. My name is Winter, hanging on the hem of spring. I'm a Mandarin Red. My mother's name is Long Road Blue. She's a scattered kind of red. My father's name is Twisted Song. He's a gospel, not red. And I come from a shouting, called people, people, people. You need to remember me. My name is Scream Choking Chicken. I'm a wildflower yarrow. My mother's name is Milkweed Bitters. And she's a blown field holler kind of yellow. But my father's name is Past His Prime Tobacco Leaf. You know, stem, moldy yellow. I come from an infinite, interrupted people. People, remember me. My name is Lint Ball and Empty Mouth. I'm a hardship kind of green. My mother's name is 1.5 job. Y'all know about that, right? A history repeated green. My father's name is Coal Mine and Plow. A rock solid earth green. I come from rich soil. A rooted people. People, remember me. My name is Splayed Rose. I'm a barren harvest blue. My mother's name is Spent Lily. She's a blue vein spun thing. My father's name is Felled Oak. Axe swinging blues. I come from twisted seasons, rhymes so people remember me. Remember me. My name is winter hanging on the hem of spring. My name is scream, choking chicken. People, you need to remember me. My name is lit ball and empty mouth. My name is displayed rose. I come from twisted seasons. I come from rich soil. I come from an infinite, interrupted people. You need to remember me. Now, since we're in Brooklyn, I'm going to read the Brooklyn poem I wrote, even though I wasn't in Brooklyn when it was inspired. I was actually up in Hartford, New York. Brooklyn travels far. I went to a jazz performance up there, and I happened to look up and somebody had painted a picture of the underside of the Brooklyn Bridge. And so that became the name of this poem. It's called On the Underside of the Brooklyn Bridge. Music from jazz alleys drips from concrete columns, puts the Hanks on notice, calls them one by one to stand judged. All their transgressions caught in the dark matter of 32nd and 16th notes. On the underside of the Brooklyn Bridge, graffiti collides with the low tones of the bass, washing the worn down docks clean of their crimes. Shadows dancing with ladies of evening stormy skies as their Johns refuse to pay. Their pimps refuse to accept the truth. Don't nobody win if the tide don't Argentine tango with the moon. Yeah, on the underside of the Brooklyn Bridge, speakeasies, stop and jive rhythm hang heavy in the roadway steel nets. Safety is suspended. The ghost of East and West rivers praise the passing of melody's golden notes. Remove the tarnish from a girl child found hunched in a dumpster, underdressed, trying to escape this brutal cold. Her name, unknown. Her life pulled from the rivets, too frail to hold it. But on the underside of the Brooklyn Bridge, the sax plays a ballad for cobblestone. Some dimpled with stiletto heels of wannabe socialites, you know that kind of people. Others brushed and buffed smooth by minks dragged in after-hour mist. By couples looking to remember love before the jam ended, before the tide rolled out the reality. Their youthful, promising smiles turned into old, everyday excuses and insatiable yearnings for the dream never caught. On the underside of the Brooklyn Bridge, he's a flash in the warehouse window. Shadowed. His arms move from memory. He sees her shimmy a samba as if wheat in autumn's breeze. And he tries again. He hits redial on the phone. Holds on until her voice on the answering machine turns to beep. Another sleepless night, wrapped in lies. He sighs. Won't she ever forgive me? underside of the Brooklyn Bridge, every day, there is bass and minor scale, sax and major scale, piano and plead, drum and rip. There is trumpet and fugue every night on the underside of the Brooklyn Bridge. There is an endless lullaby.
I'm enjoying listening to you. Let me see. I wrote a piece the other day, and that's huge. It is. Especially when I've been trying to figure out these 4 strings. It's like wrapped tight around this wood. People are calling me to help them harmonize the melodies. I read the other night, and I was in the midst of someone who had the flu. Hopefully I'm not spouting any flu right now to you. But I wrote this piece the other day. A sad, a slow, sad, salty stream of tears that flow from bloodshot, hollow eyes, seen and unseen. Cling to the dry skin of a ashy, blotched fast food cheek before dripping on well-worn, once dusty, now muddy trails from falling tears of the many who seek refuge. Her bony, raw, LPN overworked and overwashed hands that change shitty sheets, comb hair, and oil crusty feet now hold a subsidized housing slip after a long, long lottery wait to stream south and west and out from the crowded, overpriced situations to a FEMA-owned, revisited staging area where her ancestors fled and followed the North Star in pursuit of freedom, in pursuit of dignity, in pursuit of the promise of a new life. Today they trudge as fallout, in retreat from the too big to fail attitudes and bankrupted once safe havens of opportunity. The heavily melanated are now joined by the brown paper bag heroes and the just plain Poe, who were once buffers, but still patriotic fodder, right or wrong. Protector of the parallel unseen, the appointed king and queen, the Darton Abbey lower stratification of a human being, and now being rounded up again and corralled into imported opioid dollar stores in a time marked down sale price bin as cast-offs, seconds, obsolete, untouchables, and worthless They now join the culturally rich have-nots and reluctantly, but slowly, begin to join arms and see one another in an ultra-glare light rays, in ultra-glare light rays from the disappearing ozone, in their super Walmart enclaves designed for below minimum wage, service-oriented ass wipers. They struggle. They struggle in a state of that art. They struggle in a state-of-the-art new Jim Crow designer Ferguson with one major 30-mile-an-hour road in and one out, where station ticket hustling, trigger-happy highway patrol with a privatized super penitentiary just up the road. The youth, the beautiful youth, full of the good life and vitality, communicate through FaceTime. They post personal profiles and selfies, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, of their exclusive existence of the here and now, with an attitude of who needs the future anyhow. They post fights, police rage, their laughs, their angers, their orgies, trips to the mall, Black Friday stampede free-for-alls to fill that void created by the hypnotic extreme profiteers advertising, fantasizing, fascinating, unbelievable illusions while priming a post-truth world with overwhelming confusion. This ever-growing trail of tears, onslaught to a big cast iron simmering pot, running over, piping hot, full of gumbo. Full of gumbo. There's the okra, the tomatoes, the chicken, the lightly salted broth, stewed, living the same economic class dues along with the sausage, shrimp, crushed red pepper, chopped onions, and fresh garlic too. And to activate, organize, bring all them flavors together, we must not forget the most important ingredient, the roux, which is in you, which is in you, me and you. As the consciousness of the young truth seekers grow and time is not on the side of the old, as our protective ozone diminishes, the stardust that we are made of, as our protective ozone diminishes, the stardust that we're made of, as well as all the other colorful spectrum of rays and light with messages of love, with messages of truth, with messages of what to do. Meditate. Meditate under the sun. Meditate while on the bus. Meditate under the ground, on the train. Meditate under the stars. Meditate on the moon. For the youth will see us through. For the youth will see us through. Never mind those sagging pants. Those are real people. For the youth will see us through.
Sea lion woman with her black dress on for $1,000, child. She gonna wail, she gonna wail, she gonna wail, 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 and moan. Woman, pieces lull your body into peace, full of rich secret. Woman, wear your hand-me-down beauty. Woman, you be beautiful. In the calm of others, bury your sorrow in the wind. You sing the rust of cast iron despair. You bawl in fantasy's empty pantry. You dance in the ugly of living. Sea lion woman, she dressed in green. She wears silk stockings, y'all, with golden seeds. Sea lion woman. Woman, you be grateful for those teasing children, those glaring women, those slight men. You churn out your magic under that muted gunny sack skirt, your head under that yellow broidered kerchief. A woman, who you be? You be heat bringing water moccasin where flood rains down here in this bottom low swinging hip. Woman, who you be? Is you a mama white diaper woman? Or a mama red stocking seam sexy? Is you holy Roland woman? Woman, your Mo Joneses swear a hoot. But woman, is you really voodoo? Sea lion woman, she dressed in red. She gonna make that man lose his head. Y'all know she got a little wiggle. And she turns like a cat. She gonna wink at that man, y'all. And you know he gonna wink back. Sea lion woman with her black dress on for $1,000, child. She gonna wail, she gonna wail, she gonna wail, and she gonna. This is a little poem I wrote called On the Road. And it's a kind of a homage to Ella Fitzgerald and Billie Holiday, a few of the other people who back in the day, when they did their gigs, they had to travel on the road and they couldn't stay everywhere. So this is what this poem is about. It's called On the Road. On the road, and can't use the jar. Hold it, Ella's tasky about that little yellow basket, mixed with wailing, scatting, Copeland's twang from the fret strings, belly aching, dipped in season. My man done gone and left me blues. Coming from her roots, heartache. Ella snapped, slapped it to Sinatra's, that's why this lady is a champ. Bopped on over the gnats, it's only a paper moon sitting under a cardboard tree, but it wouldn't be make-believe. But you still can't use the John. Hold it. Don't you see? Hanging over the cardboard tree, Billy's strange fruit. And this is life on that country road, tangled in the melodies of a culture spitting in your face 'cause you asked to. A tisket, a tasky, a little yellow basket. It's only a paper moon hanging over a cardboard tree, but it wouldn't be make-believe if you just stop asking to use the John. How'd your boy hold on?
We all
You must ain't holding up. Whatever.
But you know what? I like this.
You like that? You like that?
Sounds like Louis.
Sounds like mom.
There you go.
I wrote this song for this poem for my grandmother. This is the first poem that I ever wrote that was taken by the musician Mark Taylor, who at the time was playing French horn. Mark had never worked with poets, and I had never really worked with musicians. So a friend of ours kind of threw us together into a reading, and it just clicked. A couple of weeks before the gig, though, I went to hear Mark play, and he looked at some of my work, and he took this piece and he wrote a composition for it. And it took a few years, but when his CD came out, he took me the first time I ever went into a studio. Mark took me into the studio to record this poem with his composition. And when the CD finally came out, he had actually named the CD after the title of my poem. So the name of this poem is called At What Age? And it's kind of a homage to my grandmother, my grandmothers, my aunts. You know, those elder women that if you sat long enough at the hem of their skirt, you learned a lot of stuff. You didn't say anything, but you learned a lot of stuff. At what age do you sing sweet like no? Swing higher than clouds, dance into time's sequence, wade into adventure's scraped knee. When I fell down the porch steps, She hugged me till I filled the bottomless pocket of her apron with my pain. At what age do you sing forlorn like gray clouds? Swing into dramatic repose when you fail. Dance flirtatious with boleros blow. Wade down into that ocean of, I can't do this. When I fell off the two-wheeler, she said, get up and try again. Over and over, like the record, stop and repeat. At what age do you sing the blues of love lost? Swing into I'll never fall again. Dance with a devilish imp. Wade head first into green, then red, jealousy raging. When my first heartache almost drowned me, she said, child, the water is shallow. Just stand up and walk through. At what age do you sing songs of blue? Swing into the drought of dreams. Dance on the minefield of needs deferred. Wade into the pain of your baby's grown up. When my child left for school and I wept, she said, they'll be back. They always come back when they have sense enough not to walk the long roads alone. At what age do you sing songs of denial? Swing into the dying, dance on the edge of end, wade into blankness of gone. When I saw the light in her eyes calling her to a place beyond sight, beyond me, beyond home, she said, remember, I will always walk the plains of my life, and you will learn to find me. At what age do you sing of the struggle to remember? Swing into the peach light of warm shadows. Dance until longing drips to the page. Wade into a grandmother's stained apron. When she was gone, I thought all I had was pride. But she was right. I learned to find in the creases of my skin the protective curl of her arms, her frown, her smile, her laugh, as I tumble through this landscape of my life. That's good.
And you mentioned my house. And my father, man, he looked like my house. I mean, when I was a young. And he had a portable record player. And in the cover of the top of the record player, he set an album, okay? And it had the face of Miles. The name of the album was Musling's Miles. Miles or something. I never knew what that thing was hanging down. Later on, I figured it out. Years later, it was a microphone. Miles was looking up with a hat like this, so it's, you know. And I always thought it was my father. But in the living room, there was so much activity at that time. Because that's when people socialized, okay? His friends came by the house with album over there. Yo, man, check this out, you know? All right, now tell me, man, you know, if Sonny, or not Sonny, if Bird was better than Cannonball. Because Cannonball playing some serious stuff, man. Bird was cool. Now, don't get me wrong, but Cannonball, man. What? And then Train in the background. Actually, I don't like what Train's doing. Train was blowing at the time, was blowing what they call sheets of sound now, you know. Train's going out, you know, this was before he left Miles' band. Train was just going somewhere else. And Miles was like, why are you doing this, man? You know, but Train had to follow his path. He had to follow his road, you know. Years later, my pops gave me this album. It was entitled, John Coltrane, live in Newport. Okay. And it had this Billy Eckstine tune. I want to talk about you. But at the end of the tune, Train does like a 10-minute cadenza. And these, you know, these are LPs, you know, I mean, like the cadenza was so long. But Train was saying so much stuff. I would come home from high school and I had a job. I used to play ball. Everybody would say, man, aren't you going to stay for practice? I said, man, I gotta work. You know, I mean, like, y'all do your thing. I'll be ready. I come home and I just lay out on the chair and I put that album on. I want to talk about you. My mother would come out of her bedroom and say, so what's your problem? See, she didn't like jazz musicians. I was getting out of the house. She said, that, you know, that bunch of, you know, that bunch of, you know, I don't like them. I said, why, Mom? I don't even want to talk about it, okay? You know, I said, okay. So are you on drugs too? And this is the first time I had an opportunity to explain to her. I said, Mom, I hear something in this. I mean, I've heard a lot of music, you know, living in this house, you know, playing with my little toys on the rug with, you know, a low-hanging cloud of marijuana and stuff like that. Discussing, very articulate. Okay, what's going on with the music? What's going on with the art? A lot of painters came through. What's going on? I mean, like my folks used to say, I mean, people did things. They, and I just be playing with my car, and I remember, you know, they asked me, all right, little Ron, what do you think, man? Who's the best out of these? I said, they all are the best. And then they said, oh, wow, did you hear? Out of the mouth of babes, man. It was like somewhere else. You know what I mean? But I'm going to read this poem. And it's dedicated to Pop. I've been reading this every once in a while. Because now, you know, I have to. I don't know why. So if I get a little emotional, we'll miss you. Hated to see you leave the room. See you when we get there. And this is honest and humble too. And the way things are moving so fast, I just might see you very soon. Sometimes I feel your presence when just being. When alone in quiet, dark rooms, reminiscing visually the great times. Along with those struggles we both had too. And I respect that. Because it's only love, baby. No bitterness, just an inside weeping sad. I weep because you're beautiful. I weep because you're dead. And I learned from your experiences with always enough room to let me deal with mine. You allow me to be myself and maintain in such demanding times. And I saw how you made people happy, and I tried to emulate your style, because my dad is also a great granddad. Hopefully his spirit will remain forever in a while. Yes, my dad, progressive, stylish, and unique compared to today. He always came back and maintained himself while on edges of very wide horizons in his quest, searching through life to experience his dream. And while on his journey, we watched, listened, learned, grew strong, stayed together and clean. All the while engulfed in art and music, which healed and gave strength and soothed. I remember the electrically charged spirit from bright Saturday morning living room, wide open kitchen window rituals of seriously hip soul serenade sounds blasting from the 15-inch hi-fi stereo speakers, echoing off primary pastel painted project concrete walls of our small housing authority cubicles on a fenced-in brick reservation. Those sounds he worshiped introduced me to a bird called Puck. Ted and Leroy Jones written rap. Ted and Leroy Jones bebop written rap. Sarah Vaughan piping on How High the Moon. Then Train explains on a condensed everything. X-Times, I want to talk about you. As Miles eases into all blues, all keeping pace with Roy Haynes' person, doubling up between the lines as sizzle glide cymbals, bass drum double kicking on four real smooth. I remember the sounds, the pictures on the wall, the books, those conversations, him crouched in the stands, snapping his fingers on 2 and 4, with his head pointed up and off to the side with a faraway look in his eyes, just trying to hear that message, while decoding the sounds of birds solo into a language of deep meaning, a language whose sounds echoes through the project, whose sounds echo through the reservation, and change the function of those bricks from containment to a tool that amplified the sounds of enjoyment, the message. A language whose sound and meaning spoke of hope. A language whose sounds and meaning spoke of hope. A language whose sounds and meaning spoke of freedom. Bird lived. Bird lives. Bird lived and he lives and flew beyond. He even showed us what to eat and what not to eat and how to be creative with our life-serious sustenance food. You was, still is, will be together. And likewise, I, us, the same. So say hello to all our friends past and part. And please, say hello to Train. This is a honest and humble tune. And we'll see you when we get there. And where the temple is at, we might see you very soon. Your spirit lives within us, although I hated to see you leave the room, but Take it easy. Take it easy living too. Thank you for everything. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Pop. Peace.
I'm going to close this out with a poem that I wrote in 2014. It's called Somebody Tell. It was written as a piece to be read at the 50th anniversary of the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church in Alabama. So this poem is dedicated to Addie Mae Collins, Cynthia Wesley, Carol Robertson, and Denise McNeil. Somebody tell my mama there are holes blown in the church. And I walked out singing, Jesus loves me, this I know. Like she taught me every night as I lay me down to sleep. Tell her I hear her chicken sizzling in the grease, browning up for supper while she's quietly singing. Stirring the potatoes and string beans. Somebody tell my father the butterfish are playing Johnny Jump up in the creek, and the pines down by Grandmama Josie's are full of dry flies, and cottonmouths are hiding in the rain puddles under her porch. Tell him I'm running through the tall grass, reciting the song of Gilgamesh. I want to be ready when the teacher calls on me. Jesus loves me, this I know. Somebody tell my grandpa I'm sitting on his shoulders and he should always duck low at the doorways. I don't want to bump my head. Tell him my tooth fell out. I looked for the nickel he promised under my pillow. There were prayers. Somebody tell my sister to stop wearing my barrettes, hugging my dolls, stop walking to school with my hair ribbons pressed in her notebook. I left her a note. I can't wear no wrinkled ribbons. The windows shattered around me, left me wrapped in glitter and dust, and when I twirled, I was star bright. Somebody tell my Aunt Lou I'll be over Saturday morning after chores to help her hang those new curtains. Tell her I saw my chair fly across that room and the blackboard fell from the wall. When the light streamed in, I ran through it praying, Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Somebody tell my Uncle Bo to drop the plow. Come push me in the swing. Come read me the funnies before I go home. Tell him Mama said we're going shopping and we need him to drive us to town in his new Ford, where I snuggle deep in the leather seats, wave at the neighbors as we wave. Somebody tell my friends I want to play, but they are copperheads walking upright and knocking on the door. Don't answer. There are crows in the classroom. Don't sit next to them. Tell them run to the yard, throw down their jacks in the dust, pick up a bat and swing, turn the jump rope, quick, play. Miss Mary Mac, 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 all dressed in black, 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 with silver buttons, bullets, buttons, all down her. Sing. Ring around the rosy, ashes to ashes, we all fall. Somebody tell my folks we were singing, Jesus loves me, this I know. Somebody blew a hole in song. Stole my laugh, but not my joy. Stilled my arms, but not my hugs. Somebody tell them. Somebody tell them. It stopped my legs, but not my dance. It closed my eyes, but not my sight. It froze my dreams, but not my spirit. And I walked out singing, Jesus loves me, yes I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to him belong. We were weak. And he was. Somebody tell them. Somebody tell my folks. They blew a hole in the church. And I walked out.
Thank you for coming along. Please stay around. We have a joint mailing list. We have the mailing list over here. And we also have a suggested donation box that would help us out offset the costs of we are still a small nonprofit, you know. But also each one tell one that you were here, and each one tell one that, you know, the gallery is also here, 440 Gallery. I want to thank all of you at 440 Gallery for giving us the space and supporting us. Next month, Kathy. Kathy's here, second Sunday. Kathy Jagate Brown is here. She's in the house, and so she'll be here in February. So, you know, it's all good.
February 11th, we got Reggie Nicholson at South Oxford Space, and February 12th, we got Kathy here.
And opening for Reggie will be Gary Johnson, who we saw this morning at Sister Space. So Gary Johnson will be opening for Reggie, and then Reggie will also do his set. Wonderful artist. And this keeps growing. It's supposed to grow.
Yeah.
You know, it's supposed to.
That we have always liked to create a dialogue between visual art and music, sculpture, painting. Among those dialogues, there is some great ones. The Hurlbut, for instance, that was the inventor of open form music, create a concert in Paris with a mobile of Calais. And there is a few other examples. But what is interesting to mention is that musicians themselves like to write poetry, for instance, activity in other fields than just the music. They are musicians, but they don't write poetry, which is the case of Joe McPhee. He's very much into it, we will see tonight. Dick Griffin is a great visual artist. And as you know, Anthony Braxton has done great drawing as a partition. There is extraordinary composition of poetry of Cecil Taylor, when C.T. write poems, he become very creative, and we produced a book 10 years ago with C.T. But in music, you have also the great example of self-portrait by Schoenberg, and so on. So the relationship between the arts and the words, poetry, and visual art exists either by the musician themselves, sometimes by visual artists too, painting and sculpture, but also there is the dialogue between the arts. Well, that's a story much longer. A few weeks ago, there was a great show in Paris of self-portrait by Schoenberg. I really advise you to look at them. And of course, it's great to remember that John Cage did. There has been a few shows. I still dream to see one day an exhibition about partition and by musicians that are unexpected. Partition where, like her Brown partition, for instance, looks very much like drawings by Mondrian. I don't know if you have ever seen, so quite extraordinary to see that. So, that's the end of my story. Joe, please. Welcome, Joe McPhee.
Thank you very much to Anna for inviting us here. This trio has existed under the radar for a few years now. We've had, this is our third concert, I think. One at the Stone, one at the Evolving Arts Series, and now. As a disclaimer, I have to say that I am not a trombonist. These guys are trombonists. And I've never played a slide trombone until I bought a P-bone, this plastic trombone that I'm trying to learn how to play, and Steve's shown me the positions. But I thought I don't want to come here and practice in front of an audience. This trombone is very special. It belongs to a very good friend of mine, Clifford Thornton. And in 1971, it disappeared. Or at least, he gave me an apocryphal story that it disappeared from a Volkswagen. In 1971, I invited Clifford to play with me at the WVAI, and he came with a baritone horn, not this horn. And I asked him what happened, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, in 1979, I was in New York City at a place called it was a used music shop, anyway, and I went in and I thought, I really would like to play a valve trombone. And I said to the guy, do you have one? And he said, yeah, I got this German model, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, that's weird. Why not a Kong or a King, or what do you have? King. Okay. And you? King. Okay. So, this is too odd. Why would he say that to me? And I looked at it and I thought, I was with Clifford when he bought the trombone in Würzburg, Germany. And so in the window in this case was just the bell. And I knew that it was engraved Würzburg, Germany. So now 2 people in the whole planet could identify this one. I'm one, and the other one was Clifford Thornton. And I found that one, and I said, I called Clifford, who was living in Geneva at the time, and I said, does the number 872 mean anything to you? And he said to me, no. What is that? I said, that was on the number of the trombone that you bought in Germany. He said, how do you know? I said, because I'm holding it. And he said, I said, I'm coming to Geneva, I'll bring it. He said, nah, why don't you just keep it and play? That was 1979. So from then until now, it's kind of an underground instrument, and I've been playing this. I'm trying to. And then I met, of course, Steve, and eventually I met Mr. Griffin here, who is an extraordinary musician. So we're going to attempt to do something for you this evening. I'm going to read some things, a few things. We have not spoken about what we're going to do. There is no plan. It will unfold in real time, as it should, for you now. I'm going to read some things for you. This is a book I'm working on with Peter Brooks. Peter Brooks is going to do the artwork with my poetry and some music. It's called A Leaf in the Stream of Time. This guy right here is my dad at the time when I was born, so I can see what he looked like before I was even out here trying to do this thing. And I'm going to start with a piece from November 9th, 2016. It's called Dark Matters. The sun came up on a different side of my mind this morning. Not as it had the day before, or the day before that, or the days before that, since the beginning of my time. The sun came up on a different side of my mind this morning, rising like a red-hot poker aimed straight at my ass. A poker forged in the heat of pathological lies and deception and bigotry and hate and intolerance and greed and unimaginable ignorance. Raised to the highest as night fell. The sun came up on a different side of my mind this morning. Surely days will follow long nights of reflection, regret, and recriminations. And perhaps a new sun shall rise on yet a different side of my mind in a renewed season of hope. But I don't think so. read something else with the permission of my
Yes, my sons and
This is a piece, and I hope it will might inspire us to move towards. Now I have to take out my spectacles. This is a piece dedicated to John Coltrane and James Baldwin. Tell me, how long has train been gone? Tell me, how long has train been gone? When the word dropped on July 17th, 1967, the sun went out. John Coltrane, saxophonist supreme, was gone. And he wasn't coming back. Tell me, how long has train been gone? A cold, harsh reality hit. A reality kickback, like the first day back in the real world after being vomited out of heaven. Like physically experiencing the chemical change from sugar to shit in slow motion. Tell me, how long has train been gone? Go tell it on that mountain, Mr. Jimmy. Train is gone. Slip a note under the door of Giovanni's room and hit Mr. Charlie to the fact that train is gone, Mr. Jimmy, and he ain't coming back. He's in another country now, and he ain't coming back. He took that giant step that we all must take, Mr. Jimmy, and he ain't coming back. Tell me, how long has train been gone? We sing Bessie's blues for now, and Lonnie's lament brings tears at this moment's notice. But remember Naima and Cousin Mary and that only dance. Let Africa brass ring and shine, dear Lord. Let the spiritual sonship rise and rise and rise, and after the rain, there is the affirmation, the assumption, the love supreme, and so much more. Tell me, how long has train been gone? So much joy to remember. From the rafters of St. Peter's Lutheran Church, the heavenly hosts, Albert Ayres Quartet and Ornette Coleman's Quartet, sang songs of praise, dear Lord, and we remember and remember, chasing the train. Tell me, how long has train been gone? A couple of things. I'm going to read first a piece. Actually, Tomorrow, the 9th of July, would have been the birthday of Roy Campbell Jr. And we lost Roy too soon, way too soon. Roy was a wonderful person, a great friend who played here in a number of different situations. So, one quick thing for Roy, and then we'll play a little bit more, and then we'll close it out. This is called Echoes of Memory. I think which is appropriate for an evening like this. A thin sliver of moon gently piercing the horizon releases morning from the frozen clutches of a winter's night. A lone centurion star engages the sun in a futile attempt to hold back the sun. Steam rising from your breath in the frigid air turns the glare of artificial light into shards of crystalline memory fragments momentarily obscuring your face. Carefully, ever so carefully, I collect each fragment and store them in my heart and keep them warm. Yeah. For Roy. Steve Swell and Dick Griffin for indulging me in my. I hope we can do this.
Yeah.
At some point.
Any
And
promoters?
also,
Promoters? Funders? Any funders?
they're taking a moment to find this. In the meantime, I want to thank Alain, Kirili, and Ariane for having us. We've been here miserable night with all of this going on, but there's more misery coming on the 20th. So, I mean, this is not.
Don't forget the Women's March on the 21st.
All of that. Thank you so much for coming.
One more.
One more.
Maybe we'll play something else after this. I don't know, we'll be too depressed after this one. This is called A Song for Beggars. This song won't feed the starving, nor will conferences on hunger with a fortune spent on talking, nor will it house the homeless or quench the thirst of millions who will die from lack of water while vampires drink their blood. This song won't stop our fighting over bullshit and the finite, nor will it keep us all from freezing when the sun burns through the sky, nor will it save our asses from a fate too cruel to mention, when from our greed and madness we have sucked the planet dry. But the weak the earth inherits, and the sick and disillusioned, and the wounded and the shattered, and the hopeless without vision, and the lost without direction, helpless, lonely, and the sad, they will kill the clean young soldiers, douse the spark of bright tomorrows, end forever dreams of glory, lay to rest the brutal lies. They will satiate their hunger on the bodies of the tourists. They will satiate their thirsting on the liquor of those lives. No more leaders, no more idols, only beggars. Only beggars. No more leaders, no more idols, only